Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something that might surprise you. Men are noticing things about you that you don't even realize. Not just the way you look, not just the way you dress, but the subtle cues you give off when you think no one's paying attention. The way you walk into a room, the way you carry yourself in silence, the way you treat people who can do nothing for you. These are the things that make you unforgettable. And while you may believe men only see the surface, I promise you, they're watching far deeper. When I tell you that men notice far more than women think, I mean it. Most of the time, women assume men only pay attention to the obvious, the way you look, the outfit you're wearing, or the way you carry yourself in a crowd. But here's the truth. Men are wired to observe, to pick up on signals, and to read what's unsaid. And often, what they notice goes far beyond the surface. The first thing men notice is your energy. It's not about beauty standards, it's about presence. When you walk into a room, do you radiate confidence, warmth, or insecurity? Do you own the space or shrink into it? Men pick up on that energy instantly, even before they've exchanged a single word with you. Your energy is like a frequency, and without realizing it, men are drawn to or repelled by it. The second thing they notice is how you treat yourself. A woman who values herself doesn't need to announce it, she shows it. It's in the way she maintains her boundaries, the way she says no without guilt, the way she demands respect without raising her voice. Men watch how you carry yourself in situations where no one else is watching. They pay attention to whether you let people walk over you or whether you stand tall in your own worth. And let me tell you, nothing is more magnetic than a woman who is not desperate for approval. The third thing they notice is your body language. You don't have to speak for a man to read you. The way you cross your arms, the way you tilt your head, the way you look at someone across the table. It's all communication. Men notice if you're comfortable in your skin or if you're hiding behind nervous habits. They notice whether you lean into conversations or pull back. Body language reveals authenticity, and men are far more in tune with it than women realize. The fourth thing men notice is how you listen. Do you give someone your full attention, or are you scrolling through your phone while they're speaking? Do you listen to understand, or are you just waiting for your turn to talk? Men remember the woman who makes them feel heard, not the one who is too busy proving her point. Listening is not passive, it is power. And when you truly listen, men not only notice, they remember. The fifth thing they notice is how you treat other people. A man is watching how you talk to the waiter, how you treat a stranger who holds the door for you, how you interact with people who can do nothing for you. Respect, kindness, and dignity are not traits you put on for show. They are consistent habits that reveal your character. Men may not always comment on it, but they take mental notes, because the way you treat others is a reflection of how you will eventually treat them. The sixth thing they notice is your resilience. Life will throw challenges at you. Men are not just watching how you celebrate your victories, they're observing how you handle setbacks. Do you collapse under pressure, or do you adapt and push forward? Do you complain endlessly, or do you find solutions? Men notice the strength of a woman who refuses to be defined by her struggles. That strength is what earns their admiration, far beyond physical attraction. The seventh thing men notice is your sense of humor. Not just the ability to laugh at a joke, but the ability to laugh at yourself. Men notice if you carry joy, if you know how to lighten up a heavy moment, or if you take everything so seriously that life feels like a battlefield. Humor is not about being funny. It's about being approachable, about creating an environment where connection can thrive. And a woman who can laugh, who can find light even in dark moments, is unforgettable. The eighth thing they notice is your ambition, not in the sense of competing with men, but in the way you pursue your own goals. Men notice a woman who has drive, who is building something, who is not waiting for someone to save her. Ambition shows independence. It tells a man that you're in control of your own destiny. And believe me, men respect a woman who is not afraid to dream big and put in the work to make it happen. The ninth thing men notice is your authenticity. Pretending to be someone you're not is like wearing a mask. It might fool some people for a while, but men pick up on the disconnect. They notice if you're saying things you don't really mean just to fit in, or if you're presenting a version of yourself that feels scripted. What they crave is realness. Men notice the woman who is unapologetically herself, who doesn't dilute her truth just to make others comfortable. That level of authenticity is rare, and it commands respect. The 10th thing men notice is your consistency. Anyone can put on a show for a short time, but men pay attention to whether your words align with your actions. They notice if you say you value honesty, but gossip behind people's backs. They notice if you demand loyalty, but switch sides when it benefits you. They notice if you expect respect, but fail to give it. Consistency is what builds trust, and trust is the foundation of everything meaningful. So when you think men are only looking at your appearance, understand this. They are observing far deeper. They're noticing your patterns, your values, your character, your inner strength, and it's those things that separate the temporary from the unforgettable. They're noticing your patterns, your values, your character, your inner strength, and it's those things that separate the temporary from the unforgettable. But let's go deeper into each of these truths, because the details are where the real lessons lie, and the lessons are what transform the way you carry yourself. When I talk about energy, I'm not speaking about something mystical. I'm speaking about the silent signals you send before you've even said a word. Have you ever walked into a room and without looking at anyone directly, you could sense who was confident, who was nervous, and who was trying too hard? Men pick that up instantly. If you walk in with your shoulders pulled back, your chin lifted, and your eyes alive with curiosity instead of insecurity, that presence commands respect before you open your mouth. But if you walk in apologizing for your own existence, shrinking into yourself, or waiting for someone else to validate you, men notice that too. The truth is, you don't have to be the loudest voice or the boldest personality. You just need to be certain of who you are. That quiet certainty is energy that men cannot ignore. How you treat yourself tells men everything about how they should treat you. Think about it. If you constantly undermine yourself, speak negatively about your body, or downplay your achievements, you're giving them a blueprint. They're watching if you allow others to cross your boundaries, if you apologize for taking up space, if you settle for less than what you deserve. A woman who values herself never begs to be chosen. She chooses herself first. And when men see that, they don't just admire it, they respect it, because men instinctively respond to the standard you set. If you raise the bar for yourself, they either step up to meet it or they step aside. Body language is like an unspoken truth serum. You can say one thing, but your posture will reveal another. Men notice if your smile is genuine or forced, if your eyes are engaged or scanning for an exit, if your handshake is confident or limp. They notice the little things, like whether you make eye contact when you're speaking or whether you're fidgeting with your hands out of nervousness. And here's the thing, you don't need to perform to impress. You need to align your body language with authenticity. The most powerful message you can send with your body is that you're comfortable in your own skin. That comfort translates into trust, and trust is magnetic. Listening is one of the most underestimated skills. Men notice if you're distracted, if you're already formulating your next sentence while they're speaking, or if you're genuinely curious about what they're saying. The woman who leans in, who nods, who asks questions that prove she's engaged, she stands out. Because listening makes people feel seen. And when a man feels seen, he associates that feeling with you. Listening isn't about silence, it's about presence. And presence is rare in a world where everyone is desperate to be heard. How you treat others is one of the clearest reflections of your character. Men notice the way you interact with people in positions of service, because it reveals whether kindness is part of your nature or just a performance when you want something. If you're dismissive to the person serving your food, but charming to the person sitting across from you, men catch that. They see the inconsistency, and it speaks volumes. On the other hand, if you treat everyone with dignity, no matter their role, it signals strength. It signals that your respect is not conditional and that integrity is not negotiable. Resilience is something men deeply admire but rarely articulate. They see how you handle moments when life doesn't go your way. Maybe you got passed over for an opportunity, maybe someone wronged you, maybe the day just collapsed under its own weight. Do you spiral into self-pity, or do you adjust, refocus, and move forward? Men notice if you let circumstances define you or if you rise above them. The quiet power of a woman who refuses to be defeated is unforgettable. She doesn't have to broadcast her strength. It shows in her actions, in the way she keeps moving even when the ground shakes beneath her. Humor is not about telling jokes. It's about revealing how you carry life. Men notice if you can laugh at the small mistakes, if you can lighten a heavy mood, if you don't take yourself so seriously that every moment becomes suffocating. They see if you can tease without malice, if you can laugh without cruelty, if you can carry joy without needing to put someone else down. Humor, when it's genuine, creates connection, and connection is what men remember long after appearances fade. Ambition is not always about career, it's about vision. Men notice if you have goals, if you wake up with a sense of purpose, if you are chasing something that belongs to you. Ambition signals independence. It says you are building your own life rather than waiting to be invited into someone else's. Men respect a woman who dreams boldly and works relentlessly because ambition is not competition, it's self-respect. It's proof that you refuse to play small. Authenticity is one of the rarest traits because so many people are busy curating versions of themselves to fit the moment. Men notice when you're speaking from your heart versus when you're putting on a performance. They notice if your laugh is genuine or forced, if your interests are real or manufactured for approval. And here's what they admire most. When you are the same person in private as you are in public, authenticity is magnetic because it removes the mask. It tells men that what they see is what they get. And that kind of transparency is rare in a world obsessed with appearances. Consistency is the thread that ties everything together. Men notice if your words match your actions. They notice if you follow through on what you say, if your values remain steady, even when circumstances change. Consistency builds trust, and trust is the foundation of every meaningful connection. Without consistency, nothing else matters. Because beauty fades, charm can mislead, but integrity endures. And integrity is measured in the little things you do over and over again. Think about it. Men are not just watching for attraction. They are watching for alignment. They're paying attention to whether your actions, your energy, your resilience, and your authenticity match the person you claim to be. And this isn't about being noticed for the sake of validation. It's about realizing that every interaction is an opportunity to reveal your character. You are being observed not just when you want to be, but especially when you think no one is paying attention. That's why the most powerful thing you can do is not try to impress, but to embody. Embody the woman who knows her worth, who treats others with respect, who carries herself with dignity, who chooses growth over comfort, and who shows up the drug saying, "I don't really know." Or do you light up when you speak about your dreams, your goals, your plans? Men notice that spark. They notice the discipline it takes to pursue something, the fire it takes to build. And no, ambition does not intimidate the right man. It inspires him. It shows that you are not waiting for someone to hand you a life. You're building it yourself. That drive makes you magnetic, because independence is power. Authenticity shows up in the moments you least expect. Imagine being at a party where everyone is trying to impress, name-dropping, exaggerating their lives. Instead of playing the same game, you share something real, something honest. You don't pretend. You don't perform. That moment of truth cuts through the noise, and men notice. Because in a world of masks, authenticity shines like a beacon. The woman who refuses to dilute herself just to fit in will always stand out. And then there's consistency. Think about how powerful it is when someone shows up the same way every time. A man notices if you follow through, if your promises mean something, if your values hold steady when tested. If you're kind when people are watching but cruel behind closed doors, he'll see it. If you claim honesty but twist the truth when convenient, he'll see it. Consistency is the anchor that tells him whether you are reliable or just pretending. And men never forget a woman whose actions align with her words. So understand this, it's not the one big gesture, the one perfect outfit, or the one flawless conversation that makes the lasting impression. It's the accumulation of small moments, the way you walk into a room, the way you respond when things go wrong, the way you treat the person who can do nothing for you, the way you hold yourself when no one else is holding you. These moments may seem invisible, but they are not. Men are watching, and what they see writes the story of who you are. And that story, the one told not by what you say but by how you live, is the story that lingers in their minds long after you've left the room. And that story, the one told not by what you say but by how you live, is the story that lingers in their minds long after you've left the room. But the depth of this goes even further, because what men notice is not always about the big stage moments. It's about the subtleties, the small flashes of truth that reveal your character when you least expect it. Think about the times when you believe no one is really paying attention. You're sitting at a cafe alone, reading, or maybe just people watching. You're not dressed up for anyone. You're not performing. You're just existing. But even then, men notice how you carry yourself in those quiet, ordinary moments. Do you sit with a sense of self-possession, comfortable in your own company, or do you fidget, staring at your phone to avoid looking alone? Men notice if solitude feels like confidence on you, or like a mask for discomfort. The difference is subtle, but it speaks volumes. In group settings, the same truth applies. Imagine you're at a gathering, surrounded by conversation and laughter. Men notice not only what you say, but how you create space for others. Do you dominate conversations to prove your worth, or do you share the spotlight? Do you make people feel included, or do you chase validation? By one-upping stories, men notice the generosity of your spirit, because generosity shows power. True confidence never demands attention. It commands it naturally by elevating everyone around you. And let's be honest, men notice when your strength is quiet but firm. Picture a heated argument in a workplace. One woman raises her voice, trying to outshout the other. Another stays calm, deliberate, steady, cutting through the noise with composure. Which one do you think men remember? The one who could scream the loudest, or the one who didn't need volume to command respect? The answer is obvious. Men notice restraint. They notice when you control the room without theatrics, when your silence speaks louder than anger. They notice courage too, not just physical bravery, but the everyday courage of speaking up for what's right, of standing beside someone being treated unfairly, of refusing to laugh at a cruel joke even when it would have been easier to blend in. Courage leaves an imprint. A man might forget what you wore or the clever thing you said, but he will not forget the moment you stood up for someone who had no voice, because courage makes you unforgettable. Men notice curiosity. Imagine being on a date, and instead of listing off your accomplishments, you ask questions, real questions, because you actually care about the answers. Men notice when you're genuinely interested in learning, when you explore the world with openness rather than judgment. That curiosity signals intelligence, adaptability, and humility. It says you don't believe you know everything, but you're willing to grow, and growth is magnetic. Then there's discipline. Men notice when you honor your commitments the same way every single time. That's what men notice. And whether they speak it or not, whether they admit it or not, it's those qualities that separate a fleeting impression from a lasting impact. That's what men notice. And whether they speak it or not, whether they admit it or not, it's those qualities that separate a fleeting impression from a lasting impact. But to truly understand how deeply these things register, you have to imagine them in action, because theory is never as powerful as reality. Picture this. You walk into a networking event. Everyone is scattered across the room, clutching glasses, making small talk. Before you even open your mouth, your energy precedes you. A man across the room notices the way you carry yourself, the way you walk with steady steps, not rushed, not hesitant. He may not even consciously register it, but something about your presence makes him pay attention. In that moment, you haven't said a word, but you've communicated confidence, assurance, and self-respect. Now imagine the opposite. A woman entering with her shoulders slumped, eyes darting, moving quickly as if hoping not to be seen. That sends a completely different signal. Both women are noticed, but for entirely different reasons. Energy is not invisible. It's written in your posture, your expression, your movements. Now think about how you treat yourself. Suppose you're out at dinner and someone makes a disrespectful remark about you, maybe disguised as a joke. Do you laugh nervously, brushing it off to avoid discomfort? Or do you calmly, firmly shut it down without aggression, but with absolute clarity? A man watching that exchange is not just noticing what was said. He's noticing how you handled it. He sees whether you let people walk over you or whether you hold your ground. In that moment, you've revealed your standard, and that standard teaches him how to treat you. Body language speaks even when you don't. Let's say you're at a meeting, a man is presenting something, and while others are distracted, you're leaning slightly forward, giving him eye contact, nodding at key points. He feels it. He notices the engagement. Now imagine someone else in the same room slouching back, arms crossed, eyes on their phone. Which person do you think he'll remember? Not just because one paid attention, but because one sent a nonverbal message of respect and interest. Men notice the signals your body gives, and those signals matter more than the words you say. Listening creates an imprint that's hard to forget. Picture two scenarios. In the first, a man shares a personal story and you interrupt halfway with, "Oh yeah, that happened to me too," before steering the conversation back to yourself. In the second, you let him finish, then ask a thoughtful question that proves you were truly listening. Which moment lingers? Which moment makes him feel valued? It's not about agreeing, it's not about responding quickly, it's about giving presence. Men notice when they feel seen, and they gravitate toward the people who make them feel that way. How you treat others is a mirror of who you are. Imagine you're on a date and the server brings the wrong order. Do you snap impatiently or do you handle it with grace? A man will remember that long after he's forgotten what you wore. Or you're walking down the street and someone asks you for directions. Do you dismiss them or do you take a moment to help? Small moments are not small. They're clues. Men are watching not because they're judging, but because they're learning about you through your actions. Resilience often shows up when you least expect it. Imagine your plans fall apart, a flat tire, a canceled meeting, a sudden disappointment. Do you spiral into complaints, blaming everything around you, or do you take a breath, adjust, and keep going? A man in your life sees that. He notices if you crumble under pressure or if you adapt with strength. And it's not about perfection, it's about persistence. Men admire the woman who gets knocked down but refuses to stay there. That resilience doesn't just impress, it earns deep respect. Humor reveals the way you live. Picture being at a dinner where something goes wrong, maybe a drink spills or the power goes out. Do you panic and complain, or do you laugh, turn it into a shared moment and keep the energy light? Men remember the woman who creates and laugh in chaos, who can find joy in imperfection. It's not about being a comedian, it's about carrying ease. Men notice if you're rigid and easily offended or if you can flow with life's unexpected twists. The woman who can laugh at herself without diminishing her worth is unforgettable. Ambition sets you apart. Imagine being in a conversation where a man asks what you're passionate about. Do you